Welcome back to the Todd Durkin Impact Show, the podcast dedicated to lighting you up with inspiration, motivating you to be better in all areas of your life, and igniting action inside of you so that you can ultimately create more impact in this world that so desperately needs you. On every Impact Show, we dive into mindset, health set, leadership, and something personal so that I can coach you to be the very best version of yourself. With that, it's time to dive into today's Impact Show episode. Welcome back to another episode of the Todd Durkin Impact Show. Can you believe it's February? Anyone else believe it's February? My goodness gracious, where's time going? January's gone. It's time, if you have not yet done your 10 forms of wealth in 3 and 30, get them done. Man, oh man, we are 1/12 of the way through 2025. Crazy to say that. I hope that you are primed for a great week, a super week, shall I say, because it is Super Bowl this week. Who do you want to win, the Chiefs or the Eagles? Do we have any Eagles fans out there? Anyone? Do we have any Fly Eagle Fly fans out there? I want to hear all you Eagle fans make some noise, and I want to hear all you Chiefs fans make some noise, because I don't know about you, but the Super Bowl is always a great American spectacle, and I'm excited for the big game. And by the way, at the end of today's show, I'm going to tell you who is going to win and the score that will be done, because I have some inside knowledge this week on the Super Bowl. So it's all about bringing a Super Bowl mindset from the gridiron to your life. And that is the purpose of today's episode as we go in deep, because we are in Super Bowl week. Today's Todd Durkin Impact Show podcast is brought to you by Impact X Performance. Are you ready to change more lives? Do you want to be part of a dynamic team dedicated to changing the world? And are you ready to step into the next chapter of your life where you can impact even more people? If so, today is the day. That's right, my friends. Impact X Performance is dedicated to be a cutting-edge facility where we can bring you fitness, recovery, faith, and life coaching all under one roof. If you're looking to create even more impact in your community, today is the day. Visit ImpactXFranchise.com. That's ImpactXFranchise.com, and take a look at all of the opportunities that exist for you to create even more impact. That's ImpactXFranchise.com. I'll see you there. This is the time where champions rise and take care of business. But this isn't just about football. It's about adopting the mindset of extreme preparation, relentlessness, and persistence, of having a next play mentality and focusing on the moment so that you can shine in the brightest of lights and the brightest of moments. Does that excite anyone else today? If so, give me a loud yell. Good, I heard y'all. So let me ask you a question. Right now, in your business, in your life, in your relationships, are you playing at a championship level right now? Are you playing at an MVP level? Are you playing at a Super Bowl level? And are you playing at a Super Bowl MVP level? Now, there's only going to be one Super Bowl winner, and there's only going to be one Super Bowl MVP. And when I think about and equate football to the game of life, there's so many analogies and there's so many similarities that today, as we talk some Super Bowl knowledge, and I'm going to talk about all 4 quarters: mindset, health set, leadership, and personal. And that's where I'm going to get into my prediction of the big game. This is not just about football. So if you're not a football fan, you're still going to get something out of this. But it's going to be a little football centric today, because I love the game of football and I love the Super Bowl. So let's go into the mindset and motivation today, and the principle that can help you in your career, in your business, in your relationships, in all of your 10 forms of wealth. This is the principle that can help you get to where you want to go and be in the flow state. Because when the stakes are high, like in the Super Bowl and like they are in your life, how do you get into the flow state? And here's the mindset principle that I want to talk about today is go all in. Go all in. Let me ask you a question. Are you going all in to life right now? Are you playing all with the gas pedal and stop hitting the dang brakes. Like, all in means you're doing everything that you know how to do to get to where you want to go, and you're playing at a high level, a Super Bowl type level that is going to allow you to ultimately win. The analogy would be this: uh, the NFL players, and I train many of them, they train year round to peak for the Super Bowl. For this week, this coming weekend is the Super Bowl, and they train their tails off for a successful season to get in the playoffs. They get in the playoffs, and everyone's 0-0, 0-0 in the playoffs. But you can't make it through the playoffs and into the Super Bowl when you're only half committed to your goals. The best of the best teams have made it this far. And frankly, it doesn't even matter what your regular season record is. It's the hottest team that gets hot in the playoffs that ultimately playoffs that are going to allow you to get to the championship level. So I ask you, are you half committed, 3/4 committed, or are you all in to being your best? You got to be relentless in that preparation and all that you prepare to do. When you look at even the data, sports psychologists note that athletes who set short, intense goals improve their performance by up to 15%. Now, that's a big percentage when you think about 15%, which is the same principle that applies to business projects or any personal endeavors that you have, is that when you can set some short, intense sprint intervals and then rest, not just sprint and don't rest, then you're going to get up to 15% more success and achievement with that. Your improved performance is going to grow that much. That's a huge amount. So I like that. Now, one thing that's important in this mindset section of today's kickoff of the Impact Show is this. We talk about motivation, right? And motivation is important for everyone. Motivation is like bathing. You need it daily. I've got 7 keys to success to win the Super Bowl and to win in life. Now, I'm going to give you the analogy to the Super Bowl and football, but you can equate it to life right here. Number 1, prepare to win. Prepare to win. Now, fortunately, I've had some success with my athletes winning Super Bowls and even MVPs. For example, Drew Brees in 2010, he won the Super Bowl. And I want to talk about that in the preparation standpoint. Why? Because when I was down there in Miami, Florida, when the New Orleans Saints won the Super Bowl, I remember talking to Drew that week in preparation of, and here was the mindset. And this is why the Chiefs have an advantage, because they've been there so many times. This would be the 3rd Super Bowl that Andy Reid gets in a row, and that quarterback named Patrick Mahomes gets in there. But I remember Drew talking about preparation on Super Bowl week. Notice there was an off week. This past weekend, we did not have a football game. Why? Well, because there's a lot of preparation that goes into the Super Bowl this year in New Orleans, by the way. And what's important is Drew, I remember saying, he talked to a lot of the gentlemen and athletes who played in the Super Bowl in previous years. And they said that first week, you got to take care of all of the off the field stuff. In travel, your family wants tickets, and there's like every high school and college friend coming out of the woodwork asking for tickets, and every family member is going to show up or wants to show up, and you only have a certain amount of tickets, and you got appearances, and at some point you got to lock it in, because the distractions of the Super Bowl can distract you from winning and get your mind off the game, that mindset aspect. So you got to prepare. Where are you getting distracted right now in your life? How do you lock it in? And if you got a lot going in, you're playing for your Super Bowl right now. Where do you need to prepare even this week? Like, I have a virtual talk that I'm preparing for right now as I prepare this that is really important. I want to kill this virtual keynote. Now, the company's out of Ohio. They have several people all over the country, but it's based in Ohio. And then I have a live keynote here coming up down in Miami that I'm preparing for as well next week. So how do you get to that point where you prepare and block out distractions? Prepare. How many times I've said, this is the Coach Wolf thing, 5 P's. Perfect preparation produces peak performance. Perfect preparation produces peak performance. Number 2 out of the 7 is trust the process. Treat this game like it's a game. right? You don't have to be better than you actually are. Just be you and let the momentum lift you up. Because when you show up and you feel the energy in the air, you're naturally going to have an uptick, but you got to trust the process of the game and not try to be too big for the game. You don't have to be Superman or Superwoman, in this case, Superman, and be that superstar. By trusting the process and being who you are, you're going to play at your best. Number 3, make it about the team. Make it about the team. And what do I mean by this? When you make it about the team, it takes the pressure off of you to feel like you have to perform perfectly. Because when you strive for perfection, that also many times will make you not play perfectly, if you know what I mean. So by just making it about the team, you lift everyone else up and you help them succeed. And guess what happens? Then you succeed because the pressure is off of you. So in your career, in your business, you don't have to be perfect. Let me repeat, you don't have to be perfect. I remind myself of this all the time. It's why we have a team. Is like the team is there to lift them up and let them do their jobs, and you be good in what you do, and your good is better than most people's good. So when you're good meets with your team's great, now all of a sudden everyone gets lifted up. So make it about the team. Number 4, know who and where to attack. Know who and where to attack. And what I mean by this is in the preparation aspect, when you look at your film and you break down film, you know where you want to go. You rely on your coaches because your coaches have watched a lot of film as well, and they have a lot of experience. How do you rely even more on your instincts? How do you make adjustments, whether it be in-game adjustments, halftime adjustments? Because when you know who and where to attack, there's typically either tendencies that happen in a game or business. There are people who are weaknesses in and on a team. So you know where to go. In the business world, right, when you think about know where to attack, you've got to know the weaknesses of your competitors. You have to know what you want to highlight with your teammates. How do you put the spotlight on some of the people and call the right plays for the right people at the right time? That's a very important aspect. Number 5, minimize mistakes. Like all of this is the 7 keys to success to win the Super Bowl or life. Minimizing mistakes is crucial. You think about even just the last couple weeks games in the playoffs. Some really good teams were playing football. Like I think back to my man Sean McDermott and the Buffalo Bills. They played a really good game. They lost 32-29 to the Chiefs. Just a little bit, maybe maybe one play, but 2 or 3 plays separated them from losing the championship, the AFC championship game, to them going to the Super Bowl. Here's what I remember in working with not only Drew, but guys like Aaron Rodgers, who was another Super Bowl MVP on this, and multiple other people who won Super Bowls that I trained. Not only minimize mistakes, but in the game, when you make a mistake, to mentally know to flush it. Flush it. Drew talked about this at one of my retreats for the mastermind several years ago, is when you throw an interception, his word was flush it. Boy, did he get lucky. That was his self-talk. Flush it. Man, he got lucky on that play. So if and when you make a mistake in the business world, you got to flush it and not hold on to it for too long. Now, man, I know it sounds so much easier than it is because all of us, myself included, can hold on to the mistakes too long, but ultimately holding on to that mistake actually causes you to make even more mistakes. So learn how to flush it. And this coming weekend in the Super Bowl, the best athletes are going to make mistakes, but they learn to flush it, and you're as good as your next play mentality. You're as good as that next play. Number 6 of 7, visualize your success. Visualize your success. You know, right now as I sit in the studios where I record the Impact Show podcast, I'll never forget when I opened here 25 years ago, no clients, no money, no business plan. My sister Patty telling me that you got to sit and visualize your success. Visualize people all over the place. Visualize seeing clients working out. Visualize seeing them in the office. Visualize seeing them doing yoga and doing massage therapy. You must see it. and literally see the activity, the buzz that's in the air. To this day, I still use visualization as a mental tool to help me visualize what I want to achieve. It's no different for these athletes playing the game this weekend. Is you got to play the game 1,000 times before you play the game. You play the game 1,000 times because you can only play the game one time. But the more you visualize it and you see yourself being successful, you see yourself making the right plays and the right calls, you visualize that, beautiful things will happen during the game. Beautiful things will happen during the business hours when you visualize it and you see how you want to show up, the decisions you want to make, how you want to interact with your team, the energy you want the team to have, the culture that must be embedded in every single thing that you do. You must visualize that success and watch what happens, because number 7 is execute. You got to execute the game plan. Champions don't wait for luck. They create their own. They don't sit around and wait and hope that they're going to get lucky and they're going to hope to win the game. Hope is not a good strategy. Hope is in trusting that game plan and having the preparation and doing those things that we just talked about. So I want you to treat your next challenge that you have like it's your Super Bowl, because there are going to be ebbs and flows in this game. There's going to be highs and lows. Uncle Mo is going to come into play big time. And if you don't know Uncle Mo is momentum. And momentum, there's these momentum shifts that happen in the game, and you can actually feel them and sense them. You got to ride out when you're on the low end of a momentum shift. And when you're on a momentum shift high and momentum is in your favor, you got to really activate on it and go deeper. So treat your next challenge like it's the Super Bowl. Prepare ferociously, commit fully, and watch how your life changes. So my question to you in this mindset and motivation quarter number 1 is this. What's one goal that you have here in 2025 where you've been playing small? Where you've been playing small in your business or your life, your relationships, where you're just showing up and being mediocre. I was just telling one of my athletes today in the gym here at FQ10, man, don't be playing small. Don't be like everyone else. Man, have big goals and go for it. What's the worst that happens? You lose? It's all about that process. But what's one goal you've been playing small with, and how can you change it and approach it like it's your championship moment? Like, have you ever played in a championship game? Have you ever had a championship performance or had the opportunity to play for a championship? Like, how can you approach this like it's your championship moment? So the action step of what I want you to do is write down the championship version. Think about the championship version of that goal. How does it look? How does it feel? And what does all in? All in. That's the mindset tip of the day of being all in really mean for you. I gave you 7 tips of what all in actually means, but for you, that one goal that you've been playing small with, to go deeper. And then this quarter number 1 here in the mindset motivation in this podcast, but in quarter number 1 of your year of 2025, get that championship version of that down on paper. How does it look, feel, and what does it mean to really be all in? That, my friends, is your mindset and motivational tip. Let's go. Now let's take a short break. We'll come right back with the next quarter on health and habits. All right. Welcome to quarter number 2, baby. Quarter number 2 of the Super Bowl. Man, we have a barn burner going today. It's all about fueling your body like an MVP, right? Fueling your body like an MVP. That's what I want to do this week. This week, as we prepare for not only the Super Bowl, in the actual Super Bowl, in your Super Bowl, in your business, in your career, in the weeks leading up to this big game, it's really important that athletes, they dial in their nutrition and their recovery. And I want you to think about some of the things that they're doing right now as we speak, as I speak and you listen, is how can you apply this to your daily life? And I came up with 5 things that I know these athletes are doing right now that they're preparing for. Number 1 is their morning routine. Like, what I'm saying to them is get up early, get in that routine, get your dynamic warm up in with some quick stretches, some hydration, have a good protein packed breakfast that's going to boost your alertness and your metabolism. And even on game day, do your pregame warm up routine. Get your music list on. Even get a quick lift on game day. What? Yeah, that's the new gen is doing this. They're getting up and they're doing, 2 sets of very light hex bar deadlifts. They're getting some push-ups in. They're getting like 1 or 2 sets of arms. They're activating the nervous system to prepare for what's about to occur. Pure chaos and craziness out on a football field. But for you, today, how are you starting your day? Are you working out right now? Are you in the gym right now as we speak and we're getting after it? Good. Hustle. Get that hood on and let's rock and roll, baby. Because if you got your pregame morning routine, number 2 out of 5 are recovery habits. What do your recovery habits look like in your life right now this week? What can you do to amp up your recovery habits? And what I'm talking about here is ice baths, saunas, compression boots, setting some time aside for foam rolling and stretching, or heck, even just going on a walk break to reduce any stress that you may have. Does anyone have any stress in their life? Anyone? Anyone? Yeah, I thought so. So you can take an extra 10 minutes out of your afternoon, 15 minutes this evening to go out for a little walk and do some breath work on that. It doesn't just need to be right now while you're working out, right? You can bring in walking into your routine as well. And the more that you amp up your personal self-care, the better you're going to feel and the better you're going to perform. Because when you take care of this, it's going to help you on all levels. The third aspect of my 5 is this: get massage and body work. Now, I can tell you this, these athletes this week are taking care of their bodies like they're darn thoroughbreds, because they are. But maybe they get a massage or 2 this week, and they've gotten a massage or 2 all week, all season long. But how about you? Maybe it's once a week or twice a month, or at least once a month. Get some body work. Maybe it's fascial stretch therapy, or what I call impact stretch flow. Maybe it's actual massage therapy and body work. Body work means like neuromuscular therapy, rolfing, myofascial release, like where a skilled professional is getting their hands on you and working on your fascia. Your fascia is your connective tissue. Your connective tissue from feet to fingertips, left, right, front, back, up and down. You're a one big fascial sheath. I said you are one big fascial sheath. And the bottom of your feet, you have a half-inch band of plantar aponeurosis. That is all fascia. And your feet set your foundation. And the reason I say this, because if you get a good body work or a good massage therapist, they can work wonders. If you got a 90-minute massage once a week, people are like, man, is that excessive? I don't know. You tell me. If it helps you perform at your highest level, is that excessive? No, it's not. But at least once a month, get your darn body work and massage in, and watch how it changes you physically as well as mentally also. Number 4 is sleep. Now, here's the problem with the athletes this week that are preparing for the Super Bowl. They're usually not sleeping very well. Why? Because they're nervous. they're nervous about the game. They forgot about Uncle Jimmy and his ticket. You didn't know he was flying in with his girlfriend, and there's all these things that come up. That's why the first week's important, and then you got to appoint someone in charge, because you don't want to deal with this stuff when you're preparing for the biggest game of your life. But for you, who's preparing for the biggest game of your life, how is your sleep? How is your sleep? And what do you need to do to make sure that you can amp up your sleep? Which comes down to your nighttime routine. Like, what can you do? Is it melatonin? Is it zero alcohol? Maybe you're doing meditation and breath work. Perhaps you're reading 10 pages in the evening, which I'm a huge proponent of reading, and getting in some quiet time and prayer time and doing some stretching and getting some melatonin. And heck, we have our new impact line, which has my deep sleep melatonin gummies. Melatonin gummies. That's right. I said melatonin gummies. And it helps the sleep. And without your sleep, you're no good. And you don't need to be playing the Super Bowl. If you're not getting the kind of sleep, the quality of sleep that you need to get, then you can't perform in the game of life. You can't perform in the game of showing up for your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your kids, your teammates, your colleagues on that. So we got to make sure we amp up our sleep on all levels, whatever it takes. And that's why exercise is so important on most days of the week. And the last one, number 5, I'll say is this: do breath work. Take a deep breath in, please, right now as I'm speaking, because breath work's important. And if you haven't heard me say this before, listen very closely. You breathe 18 to 22,000 times a day. Are you inhaling and you're exhaling? Please continue to breathe in nice and deep right now. If you're working out, good, breathe. If you're not working out, good, breathe. Breathing represents life. And the 18 to 22,000 times today that you're going to breathe, here's what happens when times get tough and you're under pressure. And you don't need to be coming out to 80,000 fans and millions of people watching in around the world. When the lights come on, we don't want you hyperventilating. Have you ever hyperventilated because the nerves were so high? I know even early on in my career in high school and college, and when I had the opportunity to go play pro ball overseas, is when you get too hyped up, you start to hyperventilate. When you hyperventilate, that doesn't allow for maximum oxygen to be delivered to your cells. When you can learn to relax your breath and focus just on the task at hand, that's going to help you perform at your highest levels. Right now, as you do some breathing, deep breath work, and sometimes what I call box breathing, 5-5-5 or 7-7-7, where you breathe in for 5, you hold your breath for 5, and you exhale for 5, and you continue that for 5 minutes or 7 minutes. It does wonders for your breath. Because if you're sleeping well, you're getting your breath work, you're getting your exercise, you're getting your soft tissue work with massage and body work, and you're doing your foam rolling or your stretching, and you got your pregame routine dialed in, and you're eating right. Now you're living the life of a Super Bowl MVP. You're doing what is necessary for you to play at your highest level, and that's what I'm looking for today. You know, there's a study, the ACSM, the American College of Sports Medicine, noted that consistent daily movement, even in just as little as 10 to 15 minute increments, can elevate your energy and reduce burnout by 25%. 25%. That's a lot, my friend. So think about that. Just by some consistent daily movement in 10 to 15 increments, how it can help your energy. So if you're constantly thinking about my energy's not where I'm at, and man, Todd, I need some of that energy. Well, it's dialing in these habits that are going to help you, because all this is about the habits that will help you get to where you want to go. So think about that. And if let's say you often crash mid-afternoon, then consider a 5-minute mobility routine to reset your body and your mind, right? Just short 5 or 10 minutes can work wonders for your body. So my question to you is this: which small daily habit would most elevate your energy and resilience if you did it consistently? Out of those 5 things I just shared with your habits on breath work, on sleeping, on your massage and body work, or anything that has to do with your foam rolling or stretching, or your pre-game routine, meaning your pre-day routine, what is it that you can do that's going to amp up your performance? And your action step is, I want you to commit to one. Commit to doing one this week. That's going to allow you to be the MVP this week. Come Super Bowl, like, what's going to be your MVP routine that you do each day? Maybe it's a 10-minute walk you do every day this week as you listen in. Or after lunch, you're going to do a 15-minute stretch routine, and you go out for a walk. Or you're going to book your massage this week, or you're going to book your stretch session, because I believe that when you amp this up, your health and your habits, watch what happens. My friends, there you have it. Quarter number 2 is in the books. That means we're going into halftime. And halftime is where all the best coaches in the world make their adjustments so that you can win the second half. Let's take a quick break, and I'll be right back. Welcome back to quarter number 3. Athletes, I'm talking to you right now. This is really essential. These first 5 minutes of the second half is where we win the ball game. If we want to win the Super Bowl, we must win this first 5 minutes of the third quarter. And that's why we talk in leadership. Leadership. When we kick it off and we go down there, we go down and we bust, I can't say it on the podcast, we bust some tail on this kickoff. We're going to jar that ball loose. We're going to turn the ball over. The ball becomes ours, and we're going to stuff it in the end zone. That, my friends, is going to be the key to victory these first 5 minutes. Great adjustments are done at halftime. That's why quarter number 3, we're talking all about leadership and business. As a matter of fact, I came up with today the old championship leadership, lessons from successful teams. Now, when you think about this and what it's going to take, we have some very specific very specific steps that we're going to take to help your leadership. And remember this, the teams heading to the Super Bowl didn't just have talent, they had a strategy. There was chemistry, and they had a culture of winning. And this is really important. Why? Because, well, this is all about the culture of your business. It's not just about having talented colleagues and coworkers on your team. It's all about what you bring to the table. And I have count them, 6 things I want to talk today about leadership. That's right. It's chock full of content today. Why? Well, because it's the Super Bowl week, and we're looking on how you can bring your Super Bowl mindset from the gridiron into your life. So number 1, when it comes to leadership, we want to make sure we define the roles clearly within your organization. Regardless of your title or your role in your organization, we want to make sure that the roles are clearly defined. Just like positions on the field, you got to know what each team member does on the field. Otherwise, you have a quarterback that's running, or you have a running back that's blocking. You need to know what your main primary job is, right? So like position on the field, each team member at work or at home must know their assignment. Do you know your assignment? Do you know what is most expected? Or are you getting distracted and getting on social media at work, and you find that you are like the average worker in America that is only working 3 hours? 3 hours? 3 hours of work out of an 8-hour day? NG, not good. That means if you are a football player and you're executing only, let's say, 40% of the time, you're not going to be very good. As a matter of fact, you're not playing this weekend in the Super Bowl. That's for darn sure. How do you optimize the performance, optimize the actual role and assignment, and do the assignment? Because that is really important. So point number 1 in leadership is define the roles clearly and make sure people are actually following their assignments. Number 2, leadership. The best coaches make their halftime adjustments. And I was partially joking coming out of this halftime, but here's what I'd say. In football, the best coaches make their changes in game. They make in-game changes, right? You got to make those because the defense puts a different stunt up front, or they're twisting, and you got coverages that are all going to be they're going to really hide their coverages. So you got to, just like the same thing in business for your projects, you got to schedule a short halftime. And you got to schedule this halftime where you have check-ins weekly or even bi-weekly to pivot if necessary. Just like halftime or in-game adjustments, like you've got to make sure that you make these adjustments, because if you just go in at halftime, and I know coaches that do this, and they're just like, hey, we're going to keep doing what we did the first half, and you're down 14 points, that's not a good adjustment. If they say, hey, you just got to try harder, I typically don't find that, at least at the high school, college, and pro ranks, that it's just try harder, because most kids don't go out there like, hey, coach, I wasn't trying very hard. I was just getting my tail whooped, and it felt really good to get whooped. How about making some adjustments that are going to put you and your team in a position to succeed? No different in the business world. Make the adjustments. You don't have to wait until June and July and the second half of the year. How about making them right now? If you're getting your tail whooped in something, it could be February 3rd. And as this podcast drops, you're like, I got to make some change. I got to make it now. I'm not going to wait till the first quarter is over or the second quarter is over until halftime. Number 3, don't overhype your people. Huh? Don't overhype them. I thought they need motivation. Yeah, they do, but not in the Super Bowl. They don't. The bigger the game, sometimes motivation is less important. Let me repeat that. Sometimes the bigger the game, the less motivation is important. What do I mean by that? Well, because there's going to be plenty of energy in the air. You're not going to need to hype up your people for the Super Bowl. As a matter of fact, some inside, when you go into the locker room before the Super Bowl and everything's extended, got longer pregame, halftime is longer. You go in there and sometimes you're like, wait, is it the Super Bowl? Why? Because it's quiet. Some guys are lying down on their back with their feet up in their locker and they're almost taking a nap. Like, wait a second, why are they hyped? Because you know that when you go through that tunnel and you see all those cameras, you see jets flying over top, you know what's coming, man. You know that it's game time and it's going to be there. You're going to have the adrenaline rolling. So you don't need to get overhyped and have an adrenaline dump and you go out there and you're tired. That's the experience why teams like the Chiefs, and there's some Eagles who've been in the Super Bowl before as well, where experience really pays off. Coaches, you don't want to overhype your people. There's times where you got to jack your people up, and there's times you got to set them down. So, what would be some reminders, right? In this, like what are some things that you have to do to help your people? Is don't over caffeinate. Not for big games like this. Don't over caffeinate. Eliminate distractions. Family, friends, partying the week of the Super Bowl. For yourself in your business world, like how do you eliminate distractions? How do you not over caffeinate so you're so excited about everything that you can't even focus on sitting your tail down and getting butt glue and doing an email that you need to write for 90 minutes because it's your newsletter that's important, right? So that's an important aspect. In point number 4 is set reminders. Don't overhype your people. The bigger the game, sometimes motivation is less important. And 4, set the reminders. 4, set reminders, all those things of like what you should do and what you shouldn't do is really important. The other one in setting reminders is this. See the athletic trainer for all the little bumps and bruises you have. This is football talk I have today, but also with the Super Bowl talk is for you. If you got injuries that are kind of racking up and you got 2, 3, 4, 5 things that are hurting you, man, see the athletic trainer, see the physical therapist, see your doctor if you have to, something hurting. Like sometimes it's not like, oh, I'm going to suck it up, because all of those little injuries, bumps and bruises and things that you've been holding on to for weeks and months, they affect your performance. They affect your mindset. So make sure that you make sure you do that, because you take care of your body. Your body is your temple, as I've said. Last week at Pastor Miles's church, The Rock, the body's a temple. Take care of it. Number 5, tell your team at work, at home, and your athletic team, make sure you tell your team how much you believe in them. How much you believe in them, and really believing what you're saying. Why? Because belief is so much a part of success. Why? Well, because when you tell people that you believe in them, many times it's interesting how you can believe in someone more than they actually believe in themselves. Parents, that's why it's crucial that you tell your kids, your children, whether they're 9 years old, they're 19 years old, they're 22 years old, they're 60 years old, they're 5 years old, of how much you believe in them and that your dreams are worth something. You got to fight for your dreams. And you go out and you give it your all. And you're like giving your kids a motivational mindset talk. Well, you know why? Is because belief is one of the most important things you can instill in any human being. It's no different at work. Sometimes when you overload your coworker or colleagues to-do file with so many things, is just the simple fact is the fact that you're giving them so much is because you believe in them and you know that they can do a job unlike most other people, because you're not looking to create an average company or an average coaching program. Like, you want to attract people who are willing to make the changes that are necessary to get to where you want to go. I would say this inside of our mastermind program and Impact X coaching is we want people who are action takers, people who want to actually not just say they want to make change, but actually do the change by taking action. We've got some smart people within those programs, but you have to be willing to take the action. We can instill belief and motivation, inspiration. We've got the X's and the O's and the know-hows, but ultimately each and every one of us has to say, yes, I'm going to take action. I'm willing to fail or make mistakes in order to get to that next step. And that's absolutely crucial. So tell your team you believe in them. And point number 6, now hang with me here, have an air of confidence about yourself. Have an air of confidence about yourself. Now, what do I mean by that? I am not saying to be cocky. No, in any way, no. But have an air of confidence about you. Let them feel you. Let your teammates feel you. Let your coworkers and colleagues feel you. When I say feel you, feel your energy, feel your air. There's something different about her. There's something different about him. You know, you've heard me talk about 80% of communication is body language, right? And the $1 million question is, how do you have that air of confidence when you're not very confident? The more leaders I work with and the more leaders I lead
and speak with within their companies and lead. We've got the Impact Leadership Day, which is an all-day leadership program for leaders in their companies. Is many times it's almost like you have this air that you're not who your title says you are, and you don't even believe deep down, like, who am I to be this person making these decisions? And I'm running a multi-million or $100 million company. Who am I? And all of a sudden you're thinking, like, is that me, or is this like the imposter syndrome kicking in? Hey, listen, my friend, you right now, have an air of confidence about you and kick the little birdie off your shoulder and stop telling yourself lies that the devil wants you to hear, that, hey, you're no good. Who are you to be this? That's the enemy speaking to you. And I don't want you to let that into your dome, because I believe that each and every one of us has to have an air of confidence, a very warmth feeling, a feeling of that she or he is in charge, and it's okay if they make mistakes, but an air of confidence that's going to breed confidence, because confidence breeds confidence. Let me repeat that. Confidence breeds confidence. And when you are confident, you're going to approach a task much differently than if you have any timidity in you and you're shy, or you're reserved about that versus attacking that task. So that's an important aspect that I want to make out of the 6 leadership points. Now, here's an interesting study I also found in doing my due diligence today, because this is Super Bowl. I ain't messing around today. This is for the win. I'm playing for the W today with a podcast. I want a bunch of W's out there. I want you to let me know it's a W. Third quarter. We win the third quarter. We win the podcast. A Deloitte study found that high-performing teams regularly reassess goals and their progress, and that improves project success rates by up to 29%. Let's round it and say 30 for argument's sake. So if they found a 29% success ratio has been boosted because of reassessing your goals and your progress, that's significant. Absolutely significant. So what I'd implore you to do is to make sure that you looked at the goals you set about a month ago. It's February 3rd as this podcast drops. That means January 3rd, we came roaring into this year, and it was January 5th was a Monday, the first Monday of the year. And it was like, okay, this is the first, we have our goals. We've done our annual strategic plans. It's okay if you got to change. It's okay if some things have happened and you need to make some tweaks, you need to make some modifications and edits, and you need to make an audible at the line of scrimmage. That's okay, right? That's all part of being a great performer on that. So my question to you is, in business, which project or which team could most benefit from a halftime adjustment right now? A halftime adjustment, or call it an in-game adjustment. But this adjustment because it's not working. You've been trying it in the Q4 of 24. You tried it for the first month of January. It ain't working. We got to make a change. Well, I don't know what to do. Then reach out to someone like myself, or reach out to a coach and say, hey, coach, can we have a call? Can we just book a call so that we can get on and talk through and get some feedback on what you think we should do? Because guess what? The best coach in the world, they have other coaches they go to in times of wander and pondering of what the next step is. So your action step is, if you need a coach, reach out, please. I'm more than happy to help you. Or plan a 15-minute huddle with your team, with your leadership team, or plan a meeting and revisit some of the goals. Clarify the roles that have to be dialed in and make any quick improvements. Maybe it's a very simple change you have to make and you're not as far off as you think. But when you let your teammates know, or your leadership team know, that you just feel like something's off, either the numbers are showing it, or you ever feel it on the inside? You got this weird feeling. I know some of you get that, because I know some of you who listen into this podcast, and that's an intuition that something just doesn't feel right. Well, if you were to share that with a fellow leader within your organization, is, hey, am I being crazy, or is this feeling that I'm having, is this just my feeling? And you share that, like, no, you're onto something. Something feels off. And listen, I don't want to hear it's like the Mercury grade. Is that, like, can you address it straight on? I get all that stuff. I understand it. I love it. But I want to know X's and O's. What can we do to make sure that you make any adjustments right now, halftime? So, with those leadership tips that I just shared with you, like leadership in business, championship leadership, all lessons from successful teams, I shared 6 different points with you. And I want you to think about having a 15-minute huddle. Maybe it's this week, maybe it's next week, but think about with your team, what can you tweak? The best coaches are always adjusting. They're always looking at what they can do. Or when I say adjusting, it might mean they're like, wow, I didn't think this counter game was going to be so special with Saquon, and we're going to continue to pound him and pound him and pound him, and then run a boot off of that and drop it into the flat. And next thing you know, you have a 19-yard gain, and you're moving those sticks, right? So again, pardon all the football talk, but I feel like I'm in my zone right now because quarter number 3 is over, and we're heading into the 4th quarter right now.
I am so fired up, my friends, for the brand new addition to the Impact Nutrition supplement line. Yeah, we've already had protein, but guess what? We now have the world's best flavored protein you will ever try in your life. It's called Cinnamon Bun, not Cinnabon, not the thing you find in the mall, the Cinnamon Bun protein. I'm telling you right now, when you try the Impact Nutrition Whey Premium Protein Cinnamon Bun flavor, you're going to call me 5 times and say, TD, thank you for the recommendation. This is the best protein I've ever had, because I feel the same exact way, and I've had a lot of protein in my life. Trust me on that one, more than most. So give it a shot. Guaranteed to absolutely rock your world. And it's not just available over the holidays. It's available whenever you want. That's right. It's called Cinnamon Bun Protein by your Impact Nutrition line. Give it a shot today.
All right, welcome back to the 4th quarter. Hands are up. Everyone say 4. Yeah, that's right. My 4 fingers are up as I hold up because the 4th quarter is all about dominating the 4th quarter. And this is the personal section. And I'm going to stick to the football theme today because it is the Super Bowl episode of the Impact Show. And isn't it fitting? Because, when I think about the personal section of the Super Bowl and how so many memories are going to be made from this for a lifetime between players and their families and everything else. A season is long, and then you go into playoffs, it's long. And, when I was preparing for this, it just happened to be after the game that the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Buffalo Bills. And I was thinking about my good friend, Sean McDermott. Sean's the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. The Bills lost 32-29 in the championship game in Kansas City. It was a freezing cold game. And I know how many people, if you're not a Kansas City fan, it's like the world against Kansas City, because when you're going for a three-peat, everyone's for, the Bills or whoever the Chiefs are playing. And, you're like, I don't know. But here's what I would say is Sean McDermott, and by the way, I'll put it in the show notes. Sean McDermott was a guest on the Impact Show a couple years back, and Sean went to my alma mater, William & Mary. Him and Mike Tomlin both. Sean was 2 years younger than me. Mike Tomlin was a year younger than me. And I say that because Sean has done a remarkable job with the Buffalo Bills. This week's not about the Buffalo Bills, but it makes me think about this. People don't remember who lost in the Super Bowl. Heck, do you even know who played in the Super Bowl last year? Or who lost in the Super Bowl? You probably know that the Chiefs played in the Super Bowl last year and won, but who they beat? Anyone remember that? Probably not, unless it was your team, because most people don't remember who played in last year's Super Bowl. Now, next year, you may not know who lost in the Super Bowl because you don't remember, because it doesn't matter, because all they ever talk about is who won the Super Bowl. So here's what I want to leave you with in the personal section and how it deals with everything that we do in life and in business on that. And these are 3 lessons, authentic lessons. Number 1, remember this. It's all about the process. Immerse in the process of greatness. Immerse in the process of getting to the Super Bowl. And I ask you, like, your Super Bowl, what's your Super Bowl? You're probably never going to have the opportunity to play in the actual Super Bowl unless you're somewhere between the age of 14 and let's say 30 and you play football at a very high level, your Super Bowl is going to be looking a lot different than the one coming up this Sunday as this podcast drops. Number two is know this: success breeds success. Just like when I was talking earlier on about discipline and everything that comes along with discipline, is success breeds success. Success is a feeling. Success is getting momentum. And Uncle Mo is important, as I stated earlier. We got to get momentum going in our businesses, in our lives, in our relationships. How do you get momentum going? That's the $1 million question is we got to stack small wins. Stack small wins. Think about the Super Bowl a few years back when the Patriots were down 27-3 and came back and won. Who would have ever thunk that? It was like one play at a time. Let's win the play, win the play, win the play, win the drive, win the drive, win the drive, touchdown, win the play, win the play, win the play, win the play, touchdown, next drive. Like, start with small wins. Right now in your life, what are some really small wins that you can start to stack and let them grow? Get hot. When that team is hot, they're hard to stop. Well, how do you get hot with what you're doing? Habits. It goes back to quarter number 2 and stacking those habits and your health set and the mindset. That's why we changed the whole program up right now in this season of the podcast. It's a Super Bowl season that we're in. So when I think about those things of it's all about the process, 1, 2, success breeds success. And the third and final one I share is this: show up and play all out. That's all I can ask of you and me, is that we show up and we play all out. All out. Like, victory isn't always just about the scoreboard. Now, I know you're going to yes, it is, Todd, because they're going to forget about you because second place is the first loser and all that other stuff you're going to say. But when I say show up and play all out, it's about how you show up when the stakes are high. How do you show up when the stakes are high? How are you showing up as your best self? What I want to know is, what are you doing on the little things? So whatever it takes. So my invitation for you is this. I want you to think about your own Super Bowl moment. It could be a crucial presentation that you have coming up. It could be a health goal that you want to achieve in the next 18 weeks. What's that health goal? Maybe it's a relationship milestone that you want to hit, or you've got an anniversary, big anniversary coming up. Like this month, I've got my 24th wedding anniversary. Is that possible? It means I'm going on 25 years of marriage. That's a big milestone. That's a Super Bowl win right there. But how will you show up like a champion with all the small things and the big things you got going on? And how do you stay so uber focused to do what you got to do? I think back to Super Bowl moments. I think of my own Super Bowl moments. I want you to think about your Super Bowl moments in your life. What are 1 or 2 or even 3 of your Super Bowl moments, big moments in your life? Now, I'm going to take away marriage. I'm going to take away kids, because obviously if you have kids, that's a Super Bowl moment. Getting married, well, hopefully it was a Super Bowl moment. Some of you are like, no, that wasn't so good. It wasn't Super Bowl. It was a Super Bowl moment that turned to a nightmare, but that's another story. Hopefully it was a Super Bowl moment and still serves as a Super Bowl moment. For me, besides marriage, as I said, and having 3 kids, professionally, being on Strong on NBC, Super Bowl moment. That was 3 months of just living the Super Bowl and being really locked in to that goal. Breezy winning the Super Bowl in 2010 and getting named the Super Bowl MVP. That was my first Super Bowl experience, and that allowed me to get my training career to the next level, and allowed me to sign a book deal where I signed the Impact Body Plan with Rodale and Men's Health, and wrote that book, my first of 5, soon to be 6 books. The following year, Aaron Rodgers won the Super Bowl, and I trained him that offseason. And in 2011, he won the Super Bowl and the MVP. We had back-to-back Super Bowl winners and MVPs in 2010 and 2011. I look at my run at Fitness Quest 10 as a Super Bowl run of 25 years now of that, because of the team we've been around. And, even right now, the big Super Bowl run I'm on is a big one. It's called Impact X Performance. Constantly working and strategizing and serving and laying the foundation right now for what is my next Super Bowl run. And I believe you need to have these seasons where you have different runs. For me right now, my run is all about Impact X performance and trying to really amplify the light inside of our current 7 locations that I've shared. I've got rapid plans for growth here in 2025, but that's the next Super Bowl run of how do we ultimately hit the goal we want to hit to have hundreds in several years from now, where there's lighthouses all over the country. And I hope that you can join the forces in one way, whether you're part of the Impact X Performance franchise team or you have your own gym, or you're like, let's be that light. But sometimes those runs become long and storied runs and Super Bowl moments. And sometimes they become dynasties. Look at what a Tom Brady has done. Look at what even a Patrick Mahomes is on the verge of doing. Personally, that's what I'm hoping for is a run where we've had Fitness Quest 10 and that continues to flourish. And then we're now going to spread our wings and spread the impact globally. That's what I'm hoping for. But sometimes that doesn't happen and you have to retool. And that's okay too. Like, it's okay as your defeats always lead to your big wins. So if you've been defeated or you're down today, know that it's not the end. It's not the end. And that to me marks the mark of a true champion, right? Like, that's what it takes. So my friends, the action step that I want you to take here on the personal side is define your Super Bowl moment that you're on right now. What's the Super Bowl run that you're on right now? Not just the moment, but what is the run you're on right now to create your next Super Bowl moment? What is that? See it, visualize it, work for it. Do all the things I talked about today that the athletes are doing this week and have done all season long. Because in another week from now, as a matter of fact, next week when I log into the podcast and drop it, it's all about how do you take momentum and seize momentum in your business, in your life. And I'm gonna go deeper on that aspect of it. But with that being said, it sounds to me like it's time for my Super Bowl prediction. Yep, I've got a prediction. I know who's going to win the game, and I know you all think who you think I'm going to say. But I actually know I'm not going to predict who's going to win. I'll predict the score, and I'll predict the MVP. And I'd like for you to do the same exact thing. I want you to predict who's going to win, the score, and the MVP. Now, I know 80% of you are going to be like, oh, the Chiefs. And you're going to say Patrick Mahomes or Kelsey is going to be the MVP. I understand. You can do that if you'd like to. But my prediction, straight out of South Jersey, that's right, my friends, we have, in an upset, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. Shock the world with a 37-28 win down in New Orleans. Down in the Bayou, the Eagles and Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley and team absolutely dominate the Chiefs up front. They're killing them with the counter. They're killing them with the run. Jalen Hurts on the outside. Jalen Hurts on the inside. Saquon Barkley, he's spinning, he's jumping, he's hopping on 2 legs and 1 leg. He scores 3 touchdowns. And the MVP is a co-MVP? That's right. We have a co-MVP this year of Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts. There you have it, my friends. Eagles 37, Chiefs 28, Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts with your co-MVP. My friends, thank you for joining in today on another episode of the Todd Durkin Impact Show. Hey, this wasn't just another one. This is episode 411, the 411. And the 411 was all about a Super Bowl experience. I hope you enjoyed bringing a Super Bowl mindset from the gridiron to your life. Until next time, remember, train hard, eat right, live inspired, create impact, and go create your Super Bowl run starting right now. God bless y'all. I love you, and I can't wait to see you next week when we dive into creating a post-Super Bowl action plan to transform your game day hype into lasting momentum. Peace. We out.